Apparently, Stephen Fry has said something incredibly offensive, according to the flurry of outrage on Twitter and the headlines I'm reading. He said, while being interviewed by Dave Rubin of The Rubin Report, that victims of sexual abuse need to grow up and just get over it. Wow, what a terrible, terrible man. I'm sure the furious descriptions of what was said that are floating around the internet perfectly reflect the discussion they had. So let's take a look at this monster in action, the part of this interview that's ruffled everyone's feathers.
The idea that things aren't easy to understand, that there's a but there's a ah. You have to think, there are gradations, and there are, that no one wants that. They want to be told, or they want to be able to decide and say, this is good, this is bad. I'm saying so. Anything that in any way conflicts with that is not to be borne. Yeah. And on student campuses, this idea of,
trigger warnings.
There are many great plays which contain rapes. And the word rape now is even considered a rape. To say the word rape is to rape.
Yeah.
Well, it has an interesting Latin root, and the word raptor comes from the same root, rapine, and there are all kinds of words from it. Violate, these words. They're terrible things, and they have to be thought about clearly. But if you say you can't watch this play, you can't watch Titus Andronicus, or you can't read it in a Shakespeare class, or you can't read Macbeth because it's got children being killed in it, and you might trigger something when you were young that upset you once because Uncle touched you in the nasty place. Well, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a great shame, and we're all very sorry that Uncle touched you in that nasty place. But you get some of my sympathy, but your self-pity gets none of my sympathy, because self-pity is the ugliest emotion in humanity. And get rid of it, because no one's going to like you if you feel sorry for yourself. The irony is we'll feel sorry for you if you stop feeling sorry for yourself. Just grow up.
How dare... Wait, I'm not offended. This isn't what I expected. Let's turn this scenario he's describing into a little story and see if that helps the cruelty of Stephen Fry shine through. Let's think about how this would play out if it was actually happening at a college. Imagine a student. One of their classes covers the work of Shakespeare. They go to class one day and it turns out they're going to be studying Macbeth. No, the student says. No, I know there are dead children in this play. You can't read it in this class. I was molested as a child, and I'm scared reading it could trigger memories of that. You can't put me through that. The student continued, remembering being molested as a child. Studying this play is off the table, non-negotiable. The pain I might suffer is far too great. You couldn't possibly imagine my suffering. We're not reading this play. That's it. Change the class. Someone else, another student, responds. I'm sorry for what happened to you. I'm sorry for your pain. But this is ridiculous. This isn't how an adult deals with a situation like this, even if they do have some problems. Honestly, it looks like you're used to getting your own way, and now you're having a bit of a big boy tantrum, putting on a display of self-pity, hoping we'll play along, and you'll get what you want. It's ridiculous, mate. Grow up. I'm here for you. Everyone here wants to support you, but that can't mean making everything revolve around you and your infantile black and white view of how things need to be. Nope, still not offended, and I can't think of any other way to get myself worked up over this. What a shame. Maybe it's because I watched the whole thing, which I recommend you do too. It's linked in the description of this video. Even in the least generous interpretations of what was said, ignoring complete distortions, the kind of person being told to grow up is someone who enrolls in a Shakespeare class while unwilling to read various plays by Shakespeare. Just please think about that for a second. Is that person not ridiculous? Not even a little bit. What's the alternative here to them growing up? Should they just submit assignments with a big red triggered stamp on them, giving an automatic 80 because they couldn't read any relevant material and it isn't their fault? I'm not seeing any of his critics tackling the further issues involved with someone studying Shakespeare and being unable to read fucking Shakespeare. Whether he meant that individual opting out, or as I suspect he meant that individual demanding change for their personal issues, that's what he described. Go listen again, he was quite specific. You could certainly try to argue that what he's outlined doesn't reflect what's really happening in the world, but I'm not seeing that argument being made, and I personally wouldn't make it. Perhaps no platforming would have been a stronger, clearer example in their discussion, but my understanding is he was talking to Dave Rubin immediately after another interview, unprepared, and I think he did all right. What he seems to me to be describing isn't entirely unheard of either. From the end of 2013 to the first few months of 2014, Oberlin College was advising faculty to remove triggering material from courses if possible, in order to make sure victims of sexual violence were comfortable. So, Fry's hypothetical reflects reality and is absolutely relevant to the discussion of political correctness and freedom of speech. I do disagree with his characterization of this kind of thing as self-pity though. I think he was being far too charitable. The control freak brats have found something that works. For the reason he describes in the interview, people want things black and white. I'm a victim, change this, and I'm a victim, I don't have to do this, fits the bill quite nicely. And it's very hard to say, I don't side with the victim. This outrage itself, the anger at his comments, is another example of exactly what he was saying too. Boil it down to, Stephen Fry tells victims to get over it, make an absolute judgment and spread it. Done. He's the bad guy now. I wonder if people might have been less agitated if they'd been presented with the suggestion that a student refusing to read a play in their class, or saying it can't be read in the class at all, can't be part of the course because they're too scared of being triggered, needs to grow up a bit and might be engaging in some self-pity, which I don't think anyone can deny that Stephen Fry is an expert on. Somewhat unlike Stephen, I think simplifying things can be great. It's something I strive to do actually, especially when it comes to identifying and explaining what I think the core of an issue is. But it's only great up to the point things can be simplified to, while still representing what's happened or the meaning of what's been said. Fry spoke about the attempt to remove a statue of Cecil Rhodes from Oxford. He continued to outline a situation in which certain works by Shakespeare might be scrubbed out of education. And now the erasers, rewriters and iconoclasts have descended upon Stephen Fry himself. A tiny part of what he said might upset some victims depending on how they choose to interpret it, and so he must be discarded entirely. It's that simple. Not just criticized perhaps for being too blunt as the president of a mental health charity, but simply thrown into the trash. No questions asked. Or at least that's what you'll hear if you listen to the baying of social media's hounds, spurred on by the spin and oversimplification spewed by press's megaphones. If this ends up harming him, I suppose he can at least take some comfort in knowing that what he said about the infantilism in our culture appears to be spot on. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.